Right now, there's still a maha market in D.C., but another Trump executive order is center stage today. He's expected to be signing away in Oval Office right after the show. Welcome to Christy Lee's D.C. Dispatch. We'll have the details on Trump's EO. Also coming up, LindellTV's Cara Castronova, our firebrand, is breaking down the latest Russiagate developments. We're going to have reaction from targeted Russia hoax victim George Papadopoulos and more. But first, let's talk about Trump's latest executive order. He's already signed more than 180 executive orders. Now there's no confirmation on what EO he is signing today, but here's what we know so far. It could be what officials have said they've been gearing up for, to sign an executive order this week that'll slap fines on big banks for debanking conservatives and crypto firms over political bias. According to the Wall Street Journal, this move targets banks dropping customers for their views, directing regulators to probe violations of laws like the Equal Credit Opportunity Act and antitrust rules. However, CBS is reporting the EO today is about creating a task force for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Reuters news service first reported the task force, which it said would work on security, transportation, and visa processing. We know that Trump is very proud about bringing the Olympics back to America. Either way, a new nonprofit law firm, the Washington Litigation Group, what a name, right, is stepping up to challenge President Trump's executive orders and agency actions as he pushes to reshape the federal government. CNN reports this team of seasoned lawyers, including retired judges and former government workers, is offering free legal services to fight back. Free nonprofit. Where have we heard this before? I don't know about that. But of course, they know nothing else but lawfare, right? You know what is free? Trusted news out of DC right here on LindellTV. But we do need your help because we are not nonprofit like those companies that are just constantly battling President Trump. We're not funded by George Soros or China, CCP, like the legacy media outlets. So one way, simple way that you can help keep LindellTV news coming at you is by going to mypillow.com. You know, he was pushed out of the big box stores. He has been persecuted endlessly, has had to face trials. And so a simple way that you can keep the business that has been supporting all of the truth telling coming out and now through this network is going to mypillow.com. You can use promo code KL and get huge slashing of prices on anything from towels to additional products like a healthy energy drink. If your teens like mine are caught red-handed with stupid Monster drinks and Red Bulls and nonsense like that, you might want to get a case of Rev 7 because this is a energy drink that is not loaded with caffeine and sugar, but actually healthy ingredients to get you feeling functional and give you some energy. So that's a newer product I'm really excited about. So much to check out, or just get the classic pillows. I mean, you can never go wrong with more My Pillows. So again, use promo code KL over there at mypillow.com. Now turning now to here where I am. I'm based here in Texas, and there's a lot of drama going on out here. I don't know if you've heard. A boot, scoot, and boogie on out of here. That's Democrats that fled the state to avoid redistricting. Well, now they can line dance back on over to the tune of FAFO. You know, fool around and find out. According to CNN, Republicans voted for civil arrest warrants to force the fleeing Dems back. But with lawmakers in Illinois, New York, and Massachusetts, Texas authorities can't touch them for now. Democrats call this a power grab, while Trump and Governor Abbott are pushing hard to redraw the maps before the 2026 midterms. Is this running away a winning strategy for Dems? Well, here's what Chuck Todd of CNN had to say.
It seems as if the strategy is bring more attention to this, make everybody uncomfortable, right? The more painful you make the process in Texas, the more it's hard to replicate. Maybe there isn't. They may be their own colleagues aren't as interested in this. Congressional Republicans that serve in Texas, whose districts are actually going to get impacted negatively, also secretly are kind of hoping this goes away too. And I think they think the more painful they can make this in doing it, maybe there's a way to shut this down. So I understand the strategy, and I think you get this. The part that I think is sort of bad I think it's a bad look for a party that claims to be always trying to protect the democracy is to hole up in a state that gerrymanders. The state of Illinois. I mean, one of the worst, look, Texas, Florida, Illinois, and Maryland. Those are your 4 giant gerrymandered states. And if you're trying to make a point on gerrymandering, I don't think I'd be going to the state of Illinois as a place to hide.
The word hypocrisy just wouldn't have as much of that punch to it if there wasn't Democrats that are constantly hypocritical and just get mad when you do what they have done. Democratic Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is teaming up now, though, with a Texas-based PAC powered by the people to raise cash for Democrats who fled the state to block a GOP redistricting plan that could flip House seats. So she's raising money to essentially bail them out. Meanwhile, Attorney General Ken Paxton is calling for the arrest and punishment of Democratic lawmakers. And according to multiple sources, including the Texas Tribune, Paxton's demanding these jet-setting runaways face the full force of the law for dodging their duties. In another desperate attempt at relevance, California Governor Newsom is butting in, saying he'll call a special election on November 4th to let voters decide on redrawing congressional maps there in California if Texas pushes through its GOP-backed redistricting plan. Now, this is the same Fairweather Newsom who suddenly decides he likes big oil. Once a fierce critic of big oil, he is now scrambling to keep the industry alive as a gas crisis looms. And of course, forever in his sights is talk of a 2028 presidential run. The Daily Caller News Foundation reports Newsom's administration is pushing to keep refineries open and even incentivizing more oil drilling in Kern County, a sharp U-turn from his years of suing energy companies and tightening regulations. That word again, hypocrisy. Wild. Now, speaking of California, in election security news, we know California is one of the worst offenders. Out of California and Illinois, federal courts are greenlighting lawsuits to clean up their messy voter rolls. PJ Media reports Judicial Watch is leading the charge, alleging these blue states have left inaccurate and ineligible voter registrations on the books, potentially fueling election issues, of course. With millions of dirty names already purged nationwide, this move could force both states to step up and ensure fair elections. And we have shocking news out of South Florida. Federal prosecutors are accusing Smartmatic co-founder Roger Pinetti, I'm not sure how you say his name, of bribing Venezuela's top election official, Lucena Ramirez, with a luxury Caracas home to score political favors, according to Just the News. The alleged 2019 bribe aimed to settle a dispute with the Maduro regime after Smartmatic called out election fraud in 2017 and pulled out of Venezuela. Smartmatic denies the claims, calling them riddled with misrepresentations. But prosecutors say texts, photos, and witnesses are backing their case. Now, of course, onto Russiagate, the biggest conspiracy scandal of all time. Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered evidence on the Russia collusion hoax to be presented to a grand jury, potentially leading to indictments, according to also Just the News. This follows criminal referrals from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who declassified documents alleging Obama-era officials fabricated claims to tie Trump to Russia in 2016. So joining me now to discuss is our own Kara Castronova. Kara, I have been calling it Obamagate, but more and more it seems like Hillary Clinton is in the crosshairs. Thank you for joining me live there from D.C.
Hey, thanks for having me, Christy. So, everybody obviously is talking about this new grand jury that Pam Bondi is ordering to investigate. And Joe Biden hopefully will be on that list, not just Obama and not just Hillary Clinton. He was VP during the time of that briefing when Obama was told that Russiagate was basically a campaign hoax by Hillary Clinton. And he doesn't have presidential immunity because he was VP at the time. And then he went forward and continued to tell these lies to the American public. And obviously the conspiracy continues to today. So there's no statute of limitations. They have not yet retracted these lies. I'm sure I would make the common sense assumption that they are communicating with each other, again, furthering this conspiracy, talking about how they're going to protect themselves when they ultimately and hopefully are indicted after this grand jury does this investigation. And that was announced in the past 24 hours. I have a clip just again talking about how this grand jury has just been ordered to investigate the Trump-Russia collusion, Obama deep state investigators and that indictments are very, very possible. Please take a listen.
Well, Will, good to be with you. This is coming out of the Justice Department. Fox News can confirm that Attorney General Pam Bondi today signed an order directing an unnamed U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury relating to an alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 candidate Donald Trump to the country of Russia. Now, Fox News reviewed the one-page order just hours ago signed by the Attorney General. A source familiar with the probe confirms this as well, while a DOJ spokesperson declined to comment on this report of an investigation. Fox is told Attorney General Bondi is taking the referrals from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The spokesperson says that Bondi believes there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern, end quote, and a need for the next steps. Now, this move, Will, comes just a couple of weeks after the Director of National Intelligence, you see her right there, Tulsi Gabbard, sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department regarding what she says proves there was a conspiracy to undermine Trump's candidacy and later his first term in office. Now, to be clear today, there are no charges that have been filed, no indictments. This is incredibly early in the process. What we have here is taking evidence the Justice Department believes it has to a grand jury to secure an eventual indictment or indictments. We don't know exactly where the grand jury will meet. We don't know who will go before the grand jury, and that's by design, because grand juries determine if there's enough evidence to indict, and grand juries are secretive in the American legal system, so it's normal not to know all of the answers. Again, the DOJ declining on any comment regarding this investigation. But, Will, big news, this was signed by the Attorney General Pam Bondi today to take this evidence of an alleged conspiracy to a grand jury with the hope to get an indictment or multiple indictments. Will?
That is big news, David, and congratulations to you. Excellent reporting on being first on this order signed today by Attorney General Pam Bondi. I understand it is a one-page order, which you have been able to review. Fox News has been able to review. I'm afraid I'm going to ask you some questions that need to be.
God, shut him up. Yes, so that was great news, to say the least. A lot of people, I think, are very excited about that.
That's the key word that people are wanting to hear. Like, will something actually be done? Many are pessimistic, though, because how can we get anything done? I mean, you're sitting there in D.C. You know what it's like in D.C. People are like, how can we get any accountability in D.C.?
Yeah, for sure. The grand juries here in D.C. are obviously biased. Allegedly, 90% of them voted for Joe Biden. So, I mean, I wouldn't have high hopes for a grand jury here. But the good news is there are rumors, and certain people, reporters are reporting that grand jury might convene in the state of Florida, which is obviously way more balanced than Washington, D.C. John Solomon today said that his sources are telling him it could be in Florida, where the raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home happened. So they're standing in Florida. There's actually standing, I did a little bit of research as well in Pennsylvania, because that's where a lot of the FISA court stuff happens, as well as possibly Virginia, because a lot of governments, a lot of things happen in the government on the outskirts of Washington, D.C. and Virginia, where obviously there would be a more balanced grand jury, to say the least. But here is John Solomon today talking about his reporting and the sources that are telling him that this grand jury might convene in Florida.
This is a major development. We told you last week that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, had given permission for a strike force to begin. That's a very specific tool the Justice Department uses on major conspiracies. And we told you then we would know it was getting serious when the grand jury jumped into action. We now know that a grand jury will be impaneled. Most likely, my sources are telling me, it could be in Florida, where the raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home happened. So that is the very latest. You can check it out at Just News. We're going to have a whole lot more on that over the course of the next.
Well, that's certainly something that we can hope for. I mean, we've already heard suspicion that I believe even Devin Nunes was saying it really comes down to that raid in Mar-a-Lago, because they believe that that's where they were trying to claw back some of the evidence they were concerned that Trump had on hand.
Yes, certainly. And another great news, Representative James Comer, if you guys could pull that X post out, because we do want to give these people the opportunity to lie under oath. It's always a good thing, or maybe plead the fifth and show further guilt. But breaking, the House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas, and that would be Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Merrick Garland, who needs to be deposed. He is one of the most evil attorney generals, I think, in the history of this country. FBI Director James Comey, William Barr, the former U.S. Attorney General, as well as former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales, Jeff Sessions, former FBI Director Mueller, and U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, as well as former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder. So this was announced today, has 2 million views. Again, that this is what the people want. The people want these people to be brought forward, and they want to hear what they have to say under oath. And like I said, a lot of people don't have much hope for these congressional committees and these subpoenas, but really I think it's a great opportunity for people to lie under oath, and it will come back and bite them in the what if they are ultimately charged in this indictment by the DOJ, or even plead the fifth. Which, why would Obama plead the fifth? Did he commit a crime? I don't know. I mean, Obama's not on this list because he's probably going to use the presidential immunity argument, but to me, I hope that he will be added to that list before these sessions begin in October, because he can't claim presidential immunity for his acts after he was the president. And a lot of people say the conspiracy continues to today. And Joe Biden as well. He was vice president during this time period. So hopefully they will be added to the House Oversight Committee's list of individuals that will be deposed.
Well, I don't like the wording compelling to subpoena. I mean, it seems like more of a soft approach, like they could just refuse. Like, it seems like there needs to be more heavy-handed, to where there's a consequence if they don't appear. I mean, this is the continued frustration, is they get us excited with big words like subpoena and indictment and stuff, like, but unless actually anything happens, then it is just all wordplay. And very frustrating to see that we've had cases. If you'll recall, when Hunter Biden was asked was essentially subpoenaed, and there was no consequence for him making a spectacle of it. Remember, he had that presser out with the China spy guy. And they just made us, and then there was no consequence. Meanwhile, people like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro were shackled up and thrown in prison.
Right. Well, the good news is that during that time when Biden's son defied that subpoena, Biden was still the president. Now we have the DOJ. When I say we, I mean the Trump administration, and hopefully will arrest in the same manner that Bannon was arrested, and others, these people, if they don't appear before Congress and if they break the law. Nobody's above the law, like the mainstream media likes to say. And speaking of the mainstream media, of course, they're in complete denial and going to bat for the deep state, as to be expected. CNN claims Obama intel was not election interference. Obviously, they're not on the grand jury. They're not being presented with these facts, but still they're just making these claims before seeing any evidence, or after seeing actually a lot of evidence. Here is CNN again, just with the fake news. It doesn't stop.
So that's my question. I know I'm here to answer questions. What's the crime? I mean, what's even the potential crime? Seriously, I mean, I'm not trying to be confrontational here. Can anyone at this table even articulate what the potential crime might be?
I mean, election interference, manufactured intelligence,
not a crime, not a crime.
Of
You're
voter
0 for 2.
rights, obstruction of justice,
you've said a crime now. What is obstruction of justice?
And anything the grand jury says it is.
No, and to that point, let me further say with this.
Most of these crimes have a statute of limitation of 5 years.
There you go. That's where I was going next.
So that's the problem.
I mean, this is ancient history legally, right? The statute of limitations on almost every federal crime is 5 years. This stuff was 9 years ago.
There's an ongoing conspiracy, and so that could
Sure. If there's an ongoing conspiracy that stretches into 5 years ago, then you would not have a statute of limitations problem. The crimes that Tulsi Gabbard has articulated, I don't know if she's a lawyer, she's definitely not at the Justice Department, are treason and sedition. I mean, that means trying to overthrow the government and waging war against the United States. We are so far out over the edge here with this. And look, you can...
I mean, how can he say that? If you manufactured evidence to usurp the president in power, get him essentially framed and impeached. I mean, how is that not overthrowing a government? How is that outlandish to call that treason?
It's very much the definition of it. And then he talks about, oh, obstruction of justice. I don't know how it literally is obstruction of justice. And, it's in such a twist of fate. Obstruction of justice is what this very regime that we're talking about that is now going to hopefully be indicted for this charge, 1512, used against the J6ers and President Trump. Yep. Obstruction of justice, as defined in 1512, is shredding documents and deleting evidence, knowingly altering, destroying, or concealing records, corruptly influencing a witness to interfere with an official proceeding. Now, I'm sure that there was some of this that went on, and I'm sure that this will be presented to the grand jury, but it's more likely that this happened than anything that the January 6ers did. As you know, the Supreme Court overturned that ridiculous charge because they did nothing of the sort. More than likely, it was this crew, Obama, Hillary, Biden, and all of these people that did this, and this is up to 20 years imprisonment. And it applies if any official destroyed documents, lied to investigators. I mean, it's just common sense that they did these things, or obstructed congressional probes. This charge could apply to individuals who destroyed or withheld evidence. For example, Clinton's deleted emails, BleachBit, smashing BlackBerries, or misled federal agents and Congress about the origins and credibility of the Steele dossier. I mean, I don't know who these experts that CNN get. And it really is that a seditious conspiracy, I'm hoping, and a lot of people, a lot of legal experts are saying this is the definition of seditious conspiracy, not the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers going drunk and, at worst, participating in a unruly protest, which is what happened on January 6th. Seditious conspiracy is two or more people conspiring to overthrow, put down, or destroy the U.S. government or hinder the execution of its laws. They did everything they could, obviously, to hinder the first Trump presidency by obviously doing all of these things to smear him and to lose the faith of the American people. And this applies, obviously, if it's proven that officials acted to disable or paralyze the executive branch through illegal means. So seditious conspiracy is definitely, in so many legal people that actually tell the truth, in their opinion, this is something that these people will be indicted with, hopefully before November.
I'm so glad that you brought up the fact that we've used seditious conspiracy as recently as, the whole January 6th fake narrative. And it really goes to show this guy is acting like, oh, it's outlandish. It's so extreme to talk about this in reference to seditious conspiracy. But these same jokers were the same people that compared January 6th to 9/11 or Pearl Harbor, or, felt like people that weren't even there that day deserved to be in prison for 20 plus years. People that just essentially were welcomed in and walked around the Capitol were deserved to get seditious conspiracy. And then they're like scoffing at this whole orchestrated plot against the president. What else can you call it if not seditious conspiracy? It is. I'm so glad you brought that up because it's so enraging.
Right. It is enraging. Conspiracy to defraud the United States are the counts that I thought up, or not that actually experts are talking about, but I listed them out. Obstruction of justice, wire fraud, seditious conspiracy, also deprivation of rights under the color of law, and making false statements. So these are all of these things. These should all be counts on this indictment that hopefully will come out, in the near future. I'm hoping that they really expedite this because the American people want this. More than half of the country voted for this. And I think that the Democrat Party itself is even frustrated with their leadership, and they want to know the truth. So this is owed to the American people. Let the jury decide, but indict these people, mugshot them the same way that they mugshotted President Trump, give them the opportunity to turn themselves in. If they don't, raid Obama's home the same way that they raided Mar-a-Lago. You're not above the law just because you have Democrat next to your name, in my opinion, and many people's opinion. And lastly, Morning Joe Scarborough it sounds like he has something to hide. There was a clip out again, the fake news, really MSNBC, one of the worst, just going to bat again for these deep staters that have kept them employed for so long. Please take a listen.
Jonathan Ramirez, this is extraordinarily stupid. It's extraordinarily stupid on so many counts. If you look at the timeline doesn't add up. It's like when Donald Trump is saying that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton created the Epstein files. No. That all happened during Donald Trump's first term. You look at the timeline here about what happened and when it happened. Barack Obama had nothing to do with this by anybody's accounts. and especially by the Senate Republican Intelligence Committee run by Marco Rubio, who afterwards said that it was Donald Trump's 2016 campaign that created a, quote, grave counterintelligence threat to the United States of America. That was Marco Rubio, the current Secretary of State. That was every Republican on the Senate Intel Committee. After pouring through all of the documents, that's what they found. And when poor John Durham was made to sacrifice his professional career to go around the world investigating the investigators, he found nothing and ended up making a fool of himself. I mean, we even found out that the two documents that supposedly, fed into the Clinton conspiracy, that she was the one pushing this, actually was Russian disinformation. So, again, they know in the Justice Department.
It's just bizarre to me and frustrating, especially when he speaks to that investigation. Like, why didn't that investigation, back in 2016, 2017, all of these things bring up what Tulsi Gabbard, like Tulsi Gabbard has the receipts. I'm sure there's many more. So apparently there was some sort of obstruction of justice or 1512 where these files were being hidden. These files maybe were deleted or destroyed, or in the very most hidden because Tulsi Gabbard finds them now. But, the investigations of the past didn't. So I just think that's interesting. That's a thought that just came into my head, critically thinking, unlike Joe Scarborough.
Yeah, I mean, it's really disgusting. I mean, even Nicole Wallace was saying that much of this debunked. Again, debunked by who? Like, how can you say new documents that have been released to the public that many people have never even seen? How can you say instantly, with doing no digging, that it's been debunked? I mean, this is really how stupid they think the American people are, or at least they're sycophants that are still watching MSNBC to try and just put labels on things and dismiss things when there's document evidence. And then, of course, we have to hear the Russia against. No, this information is Russian disinformation. It's just like never-ending circle.
It is a never-ending circle, but hopefully there will be finally some accountability. I don't think the American people are going to let this one up. I don't know if this is sort of a trade-off for the Epstein files, but I'm good if Hillary Clinton gets arrested, if Barack Obama gets arrested, if there's a mugshot of Joe Biden, even though he's not going to know, sadly, what is going on. He was part of this conspiracy 100%. And this was before, he started really developing dementia. He was fine when he was the vice president. He was fully aware of what he was doing, so that is what definitely I think the American people want to see. They got their piece of meat when they mugshotted President Trump. That backfired badly on them, obviously. I think now it's, the people's turn. The people want answers.
Their rules. They made the rules, so then let's play by them. As many of us, how many of us feel. Kara, thank you so much for digging into this, and we'll be seeing more of you in LindellTV White House coverage, so keep it locked in here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, we can't forget the many victims. When you have a lie, it spreads. There's a ripple effect, and there's many people whose lives were upended by this lie that grew legs, this collusion to create a Russian narrative. And we're going to be talking to one of those victims of this lie, George Papadopoulos. But first, we're just going to take a quick break, hear from those that make this programming possible. We'll be right back.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Welcome back to DC Dispatch. You know, we've been talking Russiagate and the continued evidence that continues to pour out about the biggest conspiracy scandal of that we've ever seen. I've ever seen. No one knows, though, the personal toll of this fabricated narrative better than my next guest. George Papadopoulos was a key target in the Russia collusion smear campaign set up as part of the Clinton operation to undermine Trump. And it even landed him in shackles for something as minor as a process crime. So I'm asking him straight up, are we going to actually see some accountability for this fake Russia story that not only interfered with President Trump's first term, but may have cost him his reelection? So, George, thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So I haven't had a chance to personally talk to you. What's it like to finally see this story in a new light, other than the lies that surrounded you and the absolute upheaval that this Russian collusion narrative caused to your own life? What's it like to see some vindication and some things coming out?
Yeah, I think President Reagan said it best, personnel is policy. And what did he really mean by that? When you have patriotic Americans in really important positions, like a director of an FBI, the director of the CIA, the director of national intelligence, a president like President Trump who loves America, cares for the Constitution, and wants to ensure what happened in 2016 never happens again, you get results because that is policy. So I'm not surprised that this stuff is coming out. I'm just surprised of how long it took. But, you know, the reason I think, Christy, that this really is taking so long to come out, we're going on 10 years now, is because it unearths the biggest scandal in political history that not only really engulfs the U.S. government, but there are going to be other governments that are going to be certainly caught in the crosshairs of this situation. They're going to be exposed. It's going to really upend how I think the American people, citizens of their own countries, view the intelligence partnerships that they have with the United States, how Obama really wanted to target various campaigns to assure his third term, meaning Hillary Clinton. And, you know, I played a part in really exposing this scandal by testifying under oath to then Congressman John Ratcliffe when he was part of the Oversight Committee. Now, obviously, he's a director of the CIA. So people like Ratcliffe know the story inside and out, and I couldn't be happier from a personal standpoint. But it was definitely a very dark period for many years. But fortunately, the American people are going to see some retribution, and we're on the right path.
Yeah, and you certainly had to, again, have your life upended and find yourself behind bars. Essentially, you say part of that was a setup and a spying campaign, and we'll get to more of that in a moment. But, you know, people are like, okay, you know, let's fight fire with fire. We want to actually see something happen. People are incredibly pessimistic when it comes to the Republican Party and actually having, we'll say, the kahunas to to do what Democrats never have a problem with. Like they had a mugshot of our very president in the White House right now. They had a mugshot of him taken. They were threatening to put him behind bars. They have no problem forging quickly and fiercely against their opponents. So, like I said before I brought you on, do you think that we're actually going to see anything get done?
I'm actually 100% sure we're going to have results because this has really evolved at a very dramatic pace. Things have escalated tremendously. Some of the files that we've been talking about here so far were intentionally suppressed for close to a decade. Now, when the government suppresses files is because they're either explosive or they basically implicate wrongdoing by the government that they want to withhold from the American people. And in this case, the stakes are way higher because they implicate a president. I mean, President Obama, based on declassified files. This isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't innuendo. This isn't my opinion. This is declassified files that show that President Obama was the ringleader of this scandal, and people like Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, and Jim Comey were doing his dirty work. So when the files are declassified, when AG Bondi impanels a grand jury, This is serious stuff. This isn't Mickey Mouse stuff. This isn't make believe. They're going to be indicted. You don't impanel a grand jury in August and telegraph to the American people that treason and sedition was committed unless you're going all the way. So how high up will the indictments go? Will it be a Barack Obama? Not sure. But do I think people like Jim Comey, Brennan, Strzok, Lisa Page, others like in the Clinton campaign will be the ultimate targets? Absolutely.
You know, we were talking about earlier the importance of a venue when it comes to grand jury. There is some talk about perhaps they could have this in Florida. I mean, this again adds to the pessimism is that they feel like, well, if any of this gets brought in DC, we're just not going to see justice. Do you feel that way? I mean, you're certainly no stranger to how things work in DC.
Yeah, I mean, when they targeted us and even President Trump and obviously a lot of MAGA people during 2020 and the events surrounding January 6th and the Russia so-called investigation, a main reason that we were basically swimming up a river with against the current is because we understood that DC is hostile territory. You can't go in as a high-profile conservative or a next president in Washington, D.C., where 98% of the electorate are Democrats. They work for the federal government or donate to the Democrat Party. So that was a main reason that people, I'm assuming like General Flynn, Roger Stone, myself, pled to a situation that we knew was unwinnable at a time, but we knew that the truth would ultimately come out. We decided to fight back, and that's why this stuff came out and why we're on offense now. Now, regarding the current situation, in terms of the federal case that Bondi is impaneling here with the grand jury, it's likely not going to be in Washington, D.C., because if a part of the conspiracy, let's assume AG Bondi's looking at a conspiracy case, if an individual was texting somebody from, let's say, Florida or Alabama or Texas, anywhere around the country, that would then result in that being a jurisdiction option. So I think certainly she's not looking in Washington, D.C. I think she's going to find a more friendly territory to impanel the grand jury, and they're ultimately going to return in indictments, but it's not going to be in Washington, D.C.
Excellent. Now, on a more personal note, I did notice that you posted on X, and for those of you watching that want to make sure you can follow up with George Papadopoulos, you can find him on X there right on your screen at GeorgePapa19. But I saw that you had posted, and also there was an article concerning you're asking for the surveillance footage of your meeting with Alexander Downer and Erica Thompson. So curious, why are you interested in having that footage, and what do you hope that this will achieve?
Yeah, so this person Downer was part and parcel, along with the Steele dossier, to help get warrants against the Trump campaign and to instigate the fake investigations. Now, the reason I think it's very important for this surveillance footage that I believe exists to come out is because I reported this Australian diplomat to the FBI. I testified under oath to Congress that he was basically spying on me, recording me, asking me very bizarre questions, leading questions. He's a very close friend of Bill and Hillary Clinton. While he was the foreign minister of Australia, he basically earmarked $25 million of Australian taxpayer dollars to the Clinton Foundation. So this is a very shady figure in this entire situation. And I would like all information regarding why he was meeting with me, what the motivations were, the footage of that video of that meeting to be released, because it's going to showcase one thing and one thing only, that I was innocent in that meeting, that there was never any talk or corrupt talk or nefarious talk on my behalf, and that the entire situation was a complete setup. And I have nothing to hide, and that's why I've testified under oath about the same thing I'm telling you right here, why I reported this person to the FBI, and why I do believe he will be a critical part of unearthing this scandal, along with many other players.
Yeah, we need to know who all the players are and have an airtight case to really bring these people to justice. But for those who were following the original narrative that the legacy media was putting out there and continue to try and put out there, actually, many people talk about like, oh, well, how come these characters, how come General Flynn said he was guilty if he wasn't? How come Papadopoulos, he said he said himself he was guilty? Like, what do you say to that all these years later, when people throw that out there?
You know what I would say? I would say look at Charles McGonigal, probably somebody many of your viewers have never even heard of, but he was Peter Strzok's boss. He's currently sitting in prison on a 7-year sentence after the Durham investigation. Look at Kevin Kleinsmith, who was the FBI attorney in charge of Crossfire Hurricane. He pleaded guilty to felony for altering documents to basically obtain spying, using fake evidence against people like myself, Carter Page, General Michael Flynn. Look at Peter Strzok. He was literally fired from the FBI, something that was unheard of based on God knows what they discovered back then, but we'll probably have the information now. So I would tell the people who say that old narrative, look at the type of dirty cops and corrupt officials that were leading this bogus investigation against us with the full weight of the government on us in an attempted coup against the president. You don't have many options when that comes after you. That's why I had to plead, why Michael Flynn had to sell his house to pay his legal fees, why other people had to sell their homes, other people had health issues. But in the end, we all stuck to the truth, and the truth is what's coming out. And that's really what the important lesson of this is, Christy.
Yes, but there is another important lesson here, and it's actually cleaning out the swamp, actually draining the swamp. You talked about a lot of these things happen because there's so many corrupt figures, some of them having to be held accountable now, and we hope more. But again, I just keep on seeing cases where we're discovering that these swamp creatures are still in place. There is an article, if we could pull that up, where they're saying CIA analysts who helped with this, a former spy, Brian Dean Wright, is saying that these guys are still in place. Daily Caller Foundation reporting these guys were part of the Rush 2017 intelligence assessment under John Brennan. And now zero accountability. Some of these people are still in place. Brennan is still trying to influence through these people that were hired and came in through mentorships, et cetera. So, I mean, what is it going to take to truly clean out these deep state agencies and get these people out once and for all?
I mean, the swamp is deep. No one said it was going to be easy to drain the swamp. This has been a campaign promise of a candidate, Trump, going back to 2015, is actually one of the main pillars of his entire presidency, both his first term and his second term, as well as obviously the economic policies, the foreign policies. But I would argue this is really what separates President Trump from any other president in history, is that he has attempted to take on the bureaucracy, the unelected bureaucrats who attempt to withhold power against the will of the American people. So how you're going to drain the swamp, I think, is by taking on the head of the swamp. So taking on people like Brennan, Comey, President Obama himself, Clapper. Don't just go after the little guys or the little, people like they've done in the past, because that's not going to accomplish anything. If you want to send shivers down the swamp's spine, when you indict people potentially like Brennan and Comey, you make it clear there's a new sheriff in town. What happened before will never happen again, and that history will be written for the first time with real facts and against the Obama administration's narrative. And when you set those type of examples, I assure you, the lessons will be learned and they won't be repeated. If you decide not to, then they're just going to continue to feel that they're unfettered, that no one's going to ever touch them, and that the unelected bureaucrats really make policy, and that the American people serve their will and not the other way around. So you really have to take on the swamp from the top and don't focus on the underlings, and then you'll have real results. And I think that's exactly what AG Bondi's doing, what President Trump is doing, and what the director of the FBI and DNI Gabbard as a collective are really hoping to achieve here.
Yes. Well, George, like I said, it is a problem that we've turned into pessimists and so cynical. It doesn't really do us any good. So I'm so glad that we get a chance to talk to someone like you, because if anyone at all deserves to be pessimistic or cynical. It would be someone like you who had to face these deep swamp creatures head on, and you got nothing that resembles justice in your situation. So just talking to you and hearing your optimism, I think is good medicine, if you will. Is there anything else? I know that you're in high demand, but is there anything else that you wanted to share? Anything new that you wanted to share or that we should know about?
Yeah, I would just say if you really want to kind of have a visual of what we're talking about here, I was an executive on a docuseries on the Tucker Carlson network, All the President's Men. My wife was a lead interviewer on it, so that kind of really showcases from a visual standpoint the scandal from the beginning through now. Highly recommended. Obviously, my book, Deep State Target, if you really want to kind of have if you want to read the A to Z situation, then you definitely could check that out. And just follow me on X at GeorgePapa19. We'll be dropping a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of things coming out. And if you want to follow me and just stay up to date, definitely follow me there. So thanks so much.
Thank you, George, and thank you for your work on this. And to your point, yes, sometimes it is good to really sit down and read because it's like hard to process all of this craziness that happens. So to really truly understand it, it is probably a good idea to read the story. And again, the name of that book?
It's called Deep State Target, How I Got Caught in the Crosshairs of the Plot to Bring Down President Trump. And that's really what it was. It was an operation. I mean, this wasn't even a hoax. The last thing I'd like to leave the audience with is don't call it the Russian hoax anymore, because a hoax means that people were actually duped. This was all premeditated. This entire situation was premeditated. I would argue going back into 2015, the fix was in, and that's why they moved at the pace that they did with absolutely no evidence or any substantial evidence whatsoever outside of the rhetoric coming from the Clinton campaign or the Obama administration. It really was the biggest self-inflicted wound that the FBI ever did to itself. It's going to be a generational issue that I think, fortunately, we have people like Director Patel in charge of the FBI now to correct that course. But this is really not a hoax. It was premeditated, and it's going to take a very long time to correct the damage that the U.S. government did to itself. But as I mentioned earlier, personnel is policy. We have patriots in charge now, and they're going to make sure that this never happens again. So thank you.
Excellent advice, George. We're going to have to remember that premeditated Russian lie, instead of continuing. Hoax, you're right, does have kind of like an era of like humor to it. Like, haha, just kidding. Like, no, they did this. Premeditated, tried to destroy our country. And so you're right. I really like that bit of advice. So thank you so much, George, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Coming up, we have Sense and Sensibility. But first, quick word from our friends who make this and all of the other wonderful programming on LindellTV possible.
Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And Pop and ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids. But not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer.
All right, turning now to the economy. You saw it there and with Sense and Sensibility. Hold on to your jeans. American Eagle stock is making waves. CNBC reports shares skyrocketed over 23%. at the beginning of this week after President Trump called the Sydney Sweeney ad campaign the hottest out there. And Truth Social praising the Euphoria star and noting she is a registered Republican. I feel like when people see that something is causing waves and they're like, this is stupid. I mean, I know I myself is like, I think I need some American Eagle jeans. So I'm sure it's having the effect. The Trump effect is raising the roof on stock. And in fact, he was spotted on the roof earlier today. This is so wild, hilarious. Watch.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there? Come down and talk to us. What are you building? Start and look. Go to the ballroom, which is on the other side. Are you considering more renovations, sir? Hello, Peter.
Are you going to build up?
Hi, sir.
I love that laugh, like as much as people try and act like they hate him, like how can you hate that? It's just funny. Like, hey, what are you doing up there? Hanging out on the roof. It's just so funny to see. There was another clip where the very serious newscaster was like, it appears live. Appears Trump is on the roof. It just sounded funny. But while he was up there, he was sure to remind those leftist loonies in the crowd where the money is coming from for these projects. Watch.
Anything I do is financed by me, so you're not the one who's contributing. Just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever mentions that. How are you going to add another level?
There you go. Just like his salary. Remember, that's always forgotten. You always hear all of those headlines saying like Trump is using the presidency to enrich himself. So why does he donate his entire, like, why does he not take a salary for being president if that was his goal? Why is he funding a ballroom renovation through his own investments and private investments? I mean, it's just so ridiculous on face. So he was just took the moment to remind him, like, yep, it's all my money up here. Let's see what the market's doing today, though. I actually haven't had a chance to look. So let's see how it's going. It looks like we have a dip there, according to the headline here. It says Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ give up early gains as ISM Services survey comes in weaker than expected. But, I've been covering this for months and months now. And so we do have these dips, but it just seems like a quick recovery. So we expect that again. But you should have diversification in your portfolio so that when we do see some red in the market, you're not like, oh no, because you have other investments to balance it all out. There are things that tend to work inverted to what the market is doing. One of those things is precious metals. So if you really want a truly diversified portfolio, make sure you have some precious metals. You can go to MikeLindellGold.com to learn more. Get contacted by someone from Fisher Liberty Gold, who we have partnered with, to find out what makes sense for you as far as adding gold and silver to your overall wealth portfolio. And, there's even some free gifts you see there, up to $20,000 in free silver and a free coin if you qualify. So MikeLindellGold.com to make sure that you have some different investments there. We also have another option for you, investing in energy. Trump administration, as you know, has been unleashing American energy. We just had a story yesterday about OPEC planning to open the floodgates, if you will, with oil. There's many amazing things happening with energy. So if you want to get in on the action with an investment in oil, you can go to ChristieOilBoom.com. That's ChristieOilBoom.com. And our friends over there at Oxford Club have put up a video there for you to watch and learn about the ultimate passive income play, how you can be a part of the #1 oil and gas royalty. So check that out as well. All right, so this next story I love. As an impatient mom, I am always like freaking out when I see a car going slow in the left lane. It drives me nuts. My daughter recently got her driver's license, and I'm like, don't ever do this. Don't ever try and go not go fast in the left lane. The left lane you have to be going fast in. It's the rule. Well, this is big news for drivers in Louisiana. A new law kicking in last Friday. This is cracking down on those slowpokes, on those folks lingering in the left lane on highways. And they say it's all about keeping roads safer. This is coming from WBRZ, and they're reporting that drivers going just 1 mile per hour below the speed limit in the left lane can now face a $150 fine for the first offense, jumping to $250 and $350 for repeat offenders, and even up to 30 days in jail for going slow in the left lane. Wild, right? But I'm sure you felt it. Like, what are you doing over there? I'm trying to get where I'm going. You have the right lane to go slow and watch things or whatever it is that you're doing. So this is a big shift from the old 10 miles per hour rule. So move over or pay up. We got to keep that traffic flowing. We got places to go, people to see, right? The worst is when there's semi trucks going in the left lane. Like, I'm like, I don't think they're supposed to be over there. Left lane's all me. I'm sorry. I just got to get where I'm going safely, but I got to get there fast. It's just my thing. So, in other news, another story that caught my eye is Fairfax County School Superintendent Michelle Reed already earning a whopping $424,000, more than that, and more than the U.S. president, is now pushing for a taxpayer-funded bodyguard with a salary of up to $143,000, nearly $144,000. Fox News reports this move has parents and staff furious, especially amid Reed's controversies like alleged cover-ups and Title IX violations, with critics like Mom Stephanie Lundquist Aurora calling her Queen Reed for demanding luxuries, while teachers start at just $58,000. Experts say a personal bodyguard for a superintendent is highly unusual. Oh, you don't say. You don't say. Superintendents don't need bodyguards. Apparently they do when they're trying to assault our children's minds. And it's just, these are the same people that are like, we need to pay out our teachers more. And then this is a lady that's like trying to get a taxpayer funded bodyguard that is like 3 times the amount teachers make. Make that make sense. And it's not like it's not enough for her to make $400 and whatever $1,000. She, as a superintendent, she also gets a car allowance. Personally, in my case here in Texas, I used to live more on the northern end of Austin, and there's a school district, I won't even name it, but there's a school district, well, why don't I name it? Round Rock School District. They were always in the news. I was able to expose some things, wild things going on in that school district, but a superintendent there was making more than $400,000, car allowance, all of these things. We had exposed that he had a protective order against him from his mistress, who was, he was trying to bully into getting abortion. I mean, the story was wild, but it could all be verified with the police department, the documentation, the protective order. And we couldn't even, he's making all this money. We couldn't even get him out. We couldn't even get him pushed out because these people, they love these sickos. So it's just wild. Weird topic. All right. Well, that's it for me here on DC Dispatch. Keep it locked in here to LindellTV White House coverage. So much more to keep you updated on. Thanks for watching.